As professional educators, we've got to be either all in or all out. There's too much riding on the results of our work. Why maybe, maybe not is not an option for us. That's our topic on this episode of the Educators Among Us podcast.
Welcome to the Educators Among Us podcast, where we share motivational messages and inspiring stories for and about educators. Your host, Scott Barron, is author of the critically acclaimed book, Love 'Em and Lead 'Em, and provides powerful insights and wisdom for those who heed the call to teach, coach, lead, and serve at all levels of education.
This is Scott Barron, and I'm so honored to be your host for the Educators Among Us podcast. This is a special program for those who have the courage. They have the courage to be educators, and that includes all roles and in all types of schools, because there's a very wide range. We call it a broad genre of education, right? That's pre-K, K-12, sort of those in-between schools, the higher ed schools, adult education. There's so many people who are involved in different forms of education. You make a difference. You make a difference in the lives of people because you're helping them find a new path to develop the skills and develop the wisdom, right? Beyond just skills, but the wisdom to know how to make better decisions and how to grow and become their best. And that pursuit of purpose is such a powerful part of what educators contribute to the joy of life and of growth. And so thank you. Thank you for making the investment in others and even in yourself. That's probably why you're here, is this is a way to maybe spark that encouragement, that perspective, and find some joy in the work. Because we all know from our experience with colleagues and even with other teachers in our own growth in classrooms, that there's a difference between those who are doing it for the job and those who are doing it for the joy. That one twist of the letter, right, from the B to the Y, is amazing, and what the difference that it makes in the culture of the school and of the learning of students, right? Those are the people who are all in, as in they're committed no matter what. And there's different types of all in. Sometimes there's all in your business, right? And that's not so good. Sometimes there's all in a tangle, but all in together, all in with a unity and a joy. Boy, that's an exciting place to work and to grow and to be a part of a community that's a learning organization. And so thank you for your dedication to that. And hopefully this gives you a little more perspective as you're going throughout your day and your week and your month and your year. It's a journey together. The difference, right, between involvement and commitment, it's like ham and eggs. This is from Martina Navratilova, right? The difference is significant between ham and eggs. The chicken is involved in ham and eggs. However, the pig is committed. They're not just contributing something; they're all in, right? And that's a difference between as we view sort of education and the impact that we make. We really need people who are all in. You know, sometimes in this season of the year, we're still early in the school year in the United States and in other parts of the country, in the world. And so, you know, is the honeymoon over already? I mean, are we already kind of past the sort of the romance, the chance to just kind of love each other and be happy and joyful, right? That's the exclamation of many who have encountered already in this school year tempestuous conflict with colleagues and families, right? September? I mean, can we not just get to October maybe, or let's go even for December? Wouldn't that be great, right? But, you know, high hopes for peace and a joyful coexistence meets up against the realities of education leadership. It's just the way it goes. And so we have to make sure that as we endure some of those challenges, that we're careful to understand the Diss'es. Right? It's easy to feel the Diss'es, that disrespect, right? Sometimes we get our feelings hurt and we feel like we've been disrespected in terms of our role and what we do in contributing to the success of students or to the school or to the grade level or to the division or to the family, or, you know, we can just feel disrespected. Another one of the Diss'es is discomfort, right? We get uncomfortable. We get challenged. We maybe have to think about things differently. We may have to adjust the lesson plan that we've been using the same lesson plan for years. And now we have to make some adjustments. Maybe we're in a new classroom or we're having to use new tools, and it's a bit discomforting, right? There's a disconnect. Sometimes the relationships with each other, as colleagues or with our leadership or others, we feel that disconnect because of that conflict, right? Sometimes we feel dismay, where you just kind of feel unmotivated. We feel like a loss, or even disengaged. That's one of the worst disses. Disengaged educators have such a negative impact on the culture and on the life of students. We need educators who are fully engaged. And so, we have to be careful. The unreliable commitment it is risky among people who wield strong influence. School life, right? School life seldom gets easier or gentle. So we can still stay true to our part. It's not going to get any easier. We have to have a commitment of being all in. Right? I can be changed by what happens to me, said Maya Angelou, but I refuse to be replaced by it. Right? I can make adjustments. Listen, I get it. I have to learn. I have to grow. Right? I can be changed, but I'm not going to be reduced by it. I'm not going to allow it to discourage me. I'm not going to give into the Diss'es. Right? Our commitment doesn't waver. Maybe not. That's just not a phrase in our repertoire, right? We are professional educators, right? We are professional educators. That means we're willing to boldly and intelligently face the challenges, even while others fail into the temptation of half-heartedness. We're not going there. We're not going to give in to those weaknesses, but instead we're going to train our minds. We're going to train our hearts to stay true. Why? Well, because loyalty is evident in our preparation, in our body language, as we consistently deliver. We have to show up day in and day out and be ready, right? We choose to grow through difficult times to become more steadfast in our beliefs, more driven in our calling, and more committed to achieving life-changing results. That's the joy, that's the privilege, that's the calling to be an educator. So let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. That's the encouragement that Paul wrote in Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. If we do not give up, right? So how could we respond to adversities? It's how we respond is the true story of our character, right? And that we that knowledge motivates us to be a trustworthy constant that supports those enduring uncertainty, right? We can be that trustworthy constant, right? We're prepared, we're consistent. They know they can count on us. Remaining steadfast in our faith enables us to model contentment as well as commitment, sustaining balance through the habits of reflecting, right? Taking that time to think about the day, thinking about what happened, what did we learn, how did we grow, where do we make mistakes, how do we adjust, right? That reflecting is a very important habit as we remain steadfast. We also have to take time to recover. We need quiet time. We need rest. We need to make sure that our bodies are being taken care of, that we're eating, we're resting, we're getting enough sleep, right? We have to participate in recovery. We also have to reset sometimes at the end of each day, right? Because when we show up the next day, we have to give them an A. We have to be prepared to expect the best of them, not getting lost in all the things that happened yesterday and sometimes the conflict that arose or the things we had to work through. But instead, we're going to reset. We're going to reset our own heart and mind and perspective, and we're going to reset in the lens in which we see other people. And we have to be involved in renewal. Right? We have to renew our spirit. We have to renew our energy. We have to renew our focus. And that's just a habit. Those are four critical habits of being able to sustain and remain steadfast. Sticking to these routines, especially when we're under pressure, that keeps us predictably persistent. Right? That's it, right? Be that reliable constant in the fray this week, my friend. Never giving up on yourself or them. It makes a difference, right? Consistency in attitude is a vital part of growing as a professional educator. When we're under pressure, here's an important sort of thought for you, right? Is when we're under pressure, where does our attitude start to fail? Right? Where do we start to kind of give in to those temptations? We fail into those moments, right? Having that self-awareness is a very important part and a characteristic of high-performing educators. Those who contribute the highest level to mission, culture, and goals. The number one characteristic that is consistently identified by those who lead schools is those are the educators who they know who they are, they know where they are, they know how to sustain their self-awareness and their self-control. Right? It's a vital part. So when under pressure, where does our attitude start to fail? When the heat gets tuned up, where do we tune off? Right? Where does it start to begin to disconnect? And having that self-awareness to self-correct and know how to stay engaged, yeah, that's the difference. And hopefully you're able to master some of those habits as you're going through this week. A coaching question to consider each day for this week is, did I do my best to be the reliable constant today? Did I do my best to be the reliable constant today? Love him and lead him, my friend. This is Scott.
Thank you for joining us for the Educators Among Us podcast and for your courageous commitment to this noble calling. We get you and the challenges of this work. To stay connected with this community, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and weekly encouragement at educatorsamongus.com.